Hey there, hockey fans. Nick Hart back again from Isolation Station. Hope you all are doing well out there, staying sound of mind, making way in these strange and unusual times. We have another one-on-one interview to talk a little bit of hockey during these days when there really isn't much hockey to talk about. So it is my esteemed honor to bring on today Penguins assistant coach J.D. Forrest. I'm here at Isolation Station. He's there at quarantine quarters. JD, you're looking great. I love the way the facial hair is coming in, my friend. How has isolation been treating you these past couple of months? Obviously not at the rink, but you still have family and stuff like that to take care of and keep you busy, right?
I do. Like most people, I've become a part-time teacher, well, a full-time teacher. And my daughter's 9, so she's got a lot of daily responsibilities as far as her education goes. And then I got a 5-year-old son he's on the nutty side of things. So I just got to keep him occupied and tire him out, and then maybe teach him a thing or two in the middle there. But key is occupied and tired at the end of the day.
Occupied and tired. How is that strategy paying off so far? Is it working? Is it a viable strategy that others can employ?
I think a lot of the kids have learned to flip it. So at the end of the day, I think I'm much more exhausted than they are, trying to exhaust them. It's
the table is turned, as they say.
Yes.
What's the most difficult subject you're teaching right now? Is there anything where you're like, I have no idea, kids, you guys are on your own right now?
Well, it's kind of, the math is all right. The language arts, it's like a refresher, because you're like, I think I know that, but I don't really know. I haven't heard that term in a long time. I gotta go back. Yeah, you gotta check, and it's like, oh yeah, I knew that. But there's a lot of it doesn't come to you instantly. Some of this stuff, you need a little refresher, and then it clicks. So, but we're doing all right. My daughter is thankfully she's self-motivated with this, and she's been doing a nice job on her own. So we're proud of her for that.
Yeah, that's a huge break right there when the kids can sort of, like you said, self-motivate themselves, and you're not worried about taking care of that yourself. You got plenty of other stuff that you have to worry about. And like you said, you can check in your notes on some of these lessons yourself. But there's one thing that I know you never need a refresher on, and that's the game of hockey. I promised the fans before we'd have some hockey talk, so without further ado, let's jump right in. As the assistant coach of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, one of your main duties is tending to the Penguins defense corps. You, a former professional defenseman yourself, and it was sort of interesting going into this season, seeing the way the Penguins' blue line was made up. There was some sort of a good blend of veteran savvy and then youthful exuberance. There was a hard line drawn in the guys that were going to be veterans and then guys that were going to be first-year pros. And I wanted to ask you about sort of the advancement and development of some of those younger players, mainly Pierre, Olivier, Joseph, John Lizotte, and Nicholas Almaty. 3 rookie defensemen that spent a ton of time logging minutes on the blue line this year for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Without going into each individual yet, we'll get to that in a little bit, but how do you think those guys as a group really adapted to the pro game? Because right out of the gate, they're thrown into the fire, and it's not exactly easy being a young player and coming into the American Hockey League and playing right out of the gate like that. How do you think they did over the course of the year?
Well, as a unit of 3, speaking of, specifically those 3 younger guys, I thought the progression was fantastic. A lot of that credit does have to go to the other half, which was, which we consider the veteran guys, Troutman, Warsofsky, Churchman. They did a fantastic job of helping me teach those guys, and there has to be a lot said about their leadership and their role in the younger guys' development. There was good relationships there, a lot of trust. And I think with that, those younger guys, they built some confidence, and it is a tough league to play in. We had some younger pros too. I mean, P.O. and Nicholas are on the young side of things, even for a young league. Lizotte, a little bit older coming out of college. But same thing, it's a hard jump. So I think that our veterans did a really fantastic job of helping our young guys and pushing them along, pushing them or pulling them with them in their habits, their work habits, how they approach the game, just helping on the bench during the game, all different types of things. So it was a nice collective effort, I think, to progress those guys.
And now let's talk about the individuals, because one young man who made some serious progressions, especially given I know there were a lot of eyes on him coming into this season, was Pierre Olivier Joseph, a first-round pick of the Arizona Coyotes, who was then acquired by the Penguins organization in that Phil Kessel trade. I know there's people in Pittsburgh that want to know how P.O. Joseph is doing, checking in every now and then. And I know myself throughout the course of the year, he doesn't necessarily play a style that makes your eyes pop out of your head, but towards the end of the year, there'd be 2 or 3 plays a game where I would just shake my head and go, oh man, this kid got really good really fast. When you take a step back and reflect on where P.O. was at the start of the year and then where he was at the stoppage when the American Hockey League season ultimately concluded, what can you say about how impressive this young man was?
Yeah, I think you're right on there. He had an interesting year because he gets traded to a new organization where everyone is kind of trying to get to know you a little bit as a person, as a player. And I know Pittsburgh does a great job on their research. So I'm pretty sure we had an idea we were getting a real character kid coming in, and a little bit of feeling out of the organization, a little bit of, maybe some jitters or some little hesitation there when he first got in, and then having the mono, which kind of set him back. But he came out of that mono almost like refreshed or something. I don't know. It was interesting because he came out of that shot out of a cannon and just never looked back. And every day just kept getting better. His ability to work hard on a daily basis and pay attention to his reps in practice to carry it over to a game was fantastic. He's a really mature, for a 20-year-old, he's really mature, and he understands what it takes to be a pro. And like, he did see some of that from our vets, like we touched on before. But a lot of his development is just, he's a self-starter. He's on top of things. He comes to me. I don't always have to go to him. So I give a lot of credit to just the way he's built mentally. And I think you're right. Every game there was a few things you're just like, well, that is high-level stuff from P.O., from a young guy.
Now, I think when a lot of people look at P.O. Joseph, they obviously can see the talent, the skating ability, and things like that, his head for the game. But then you look him up online and you see the vitals. And one of the big things coming into this season was perhaps his size, that he needed to put on weight, add muscle. That's one of the things that people always hone in on with him. But throughout the course of the season, you really did see him get stronger throughout the year. Is there something to be said about P.O. really working hard on just being stronger, not necessarily bigger, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. A lot of people, you hear he's got to put on some weight, but I don't know if he needs to put on weight as much as he needs to get stronger. If he gets stronger and quicker and faster, he could play, and he's already quick, he's already fast. And there's a lot of credit too to Mike Joyce in this situation where you don't see a lot of guys throughout the year get stronger, and we have the numbers to prove how much stronger P.O. actually got, how much more explosive he got in his legs in particular. And that, with him, like I said, he's a self-starter. That's him going into the weight room, working with Mike Joyce, and Mike Joyce having a great program for him that he can use during the year. It's not easy to do that during a year without sacrificing some of your performance in the games. And I didn't see any sacrifice in his performance in the games. All I saw was improvement from that standpoint. So he did a great job working with Mike, and Mike did a great job giving him the tools. P.O. just ran with it, and he improved in those, the physical parts that are off ice. He did a great job with that, yeah.
Yeah, to the point where by the end of the season, P.O. was logging, major minutes on the blue line, not chipping in here and there. He was playing all situations and doing great that entire time. And as I said before, a lot of eyes were on Pierre Olivier Joseph this season. And maybe someone who flew a little bit under the radar was a kid who ended up being his defense partner for most of the season, John Lizotte. And I said he was a surprise. I don't want to necessarily say that he came out of nowhere this season, but boy, oh boy, an undrafted free agent coming out of college on an American Hockey League contract nonetheless, to also play those kind of minutes, all those situations like P.O. How much did John Lizotte ultimately exceed the expectations that perhaps he had at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, he blew him away really. We had a little look at him last year towards the end of the season, and we didn't know much about him. We heard about his compete and his work ethic and all those kind of intangible things, but we didn't really realize, I guess, he's got really good vision and a sense for the game. We saw that a little bit at the end of last year, and then this year, I had some trust built in from the last part of last year there. So I felt all right putting him into some positions that maybe he might not have gotten if he didn't have that time last year, the previous season, at the end of the season. I'm talking 18, 19.
Yeah.
So if he didn't have that time, I don't know if he would have been thrust into those spots as quickly as he was. But he got that opportunity, and he certainly ran with it. He's a really strong kid. He's not a tall guy by any means, but he's strong and powerful, and he's got a knack for getting guys off balance, and he's got a really good stick. He complemented Pio very well. Also, somebody that was overpowering that he could play with, that Pio could play with, and then as the season went on, and Pio got stronger, and Lizzo got more used to evolving his game. They're a great deep pair for us.
Yeah, they proved to be very formidable. I know, talking to some other broadcasters throughout the league, especially in that, we'll say, last third of the season, before the game, they'd be asking, who are some guys we could look for, things like that. And I was like, oh, well, 57 and 55 are they going to play a lot? And they went, oh, the two rookies? And then by the end of the game, they'd be like, oh, yeah, those two rookies, they played a lot, and they played really well. That was a common refrain in chats with fellow broadcasters after the games. But they weren't the only rookie D-men on the blue line for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. We also had Pittsburgh Penguins draft pick Nicholas Omari finally making the jump from Finland over to the American Hockey League. And there's always going to be that adjustment for young players coming to the AHL. Furthermore, Nicholas had to deal with the adjustment to North America on the playing surface, but also sort of, outside the rink as well. A completely different culture, completely different way of life, being away from home for the first time. You yourself, JD, you played overseas for a good portion of your pro career, so you had been through that. How much, as a coach, can you actually help a young kid through that adjustment, not just to the pro game, but also a completely new lifestyle and a completely new and strange place?
Yeah, that's something that I think goes kind of gets a secondary thought sometimes, is the fact that a lot of these guys are adjusting to life away from the rink, not just a pro game, but just their lifestyle changes drastically when they turn pro, especially for a guy coming from Finland, where I lived for almost five hockey seasons over there. And having that experience and knowing what it's like to be in a different culture, and you go to the grocery store and you're not sure how to find what you want, or they don't have the exact foods that you want, or just little things like that. I could just relate to him on that. We talked quite a bit about that, and what he was missing from home and things that I actually miss from Finland, having lived there so long. And I could speak the language just enough to joke around with him. But I thought as the year went on, you could see him get more comfortable in his skin. It did help that we had some other Finns on the team. And that always helps. We had Larmi around most of the year, and Ola Palve was around. And then at the end, we had our Swede friend there, Nyberg, and we also had Kasper Bjorkquist. And Kasper was great because he went to college, Providence College. He lived over here for a long time, so he hung out with Nick quite a bit. And Nick's a bit younger, and Kasper has some life experience over here in North America, and he helped him get through that, I think, quite a bit.
It really was the Finnish invasion at the start of the year with Bjorkquist, Amadi, Larmi, and Ola Palve as well. That those guys sort of got to bond together, especially with Larmi and Palve was their first times in North America as well. So they were all sort of making that adjustment, going through it together. But now, once again, I'll ask you, from the optics of the end of the year, where did you see the most progression in Nicholas's game from maybe the start of the year to where we wrapped up?
Well, Nick's got a ton of ability. He's a good skater, good shot. He can really play the game. His confidence grew. He would be able, at the beginning of the year, if he made a mistake, it would really affect him. You know, his next shift would be affected. The game would suffer for a little bit after that mistake. As the year went on and he started to understand that you got to let things just kind of roll off your back. You got the next shift to go out there and play. He started to understand that. And if he did make a mistake, his ability to recover from a mental standpoint and on the ice, like what do I do now? I made a mistake. What do I do next? Just kept improving. And that's where I saw the most progression from him. So that was good to see, because that's not easy to do. You know, the mental side of the game is really tough.
Yeah, this Penguins team all year, one of the narratives about this team was how young it was, not only on the defense side, but on the forward side as well. So to see that progression and that development in all of those players is really good to see, and bodes well for the future of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins and the Penguins organization overall. JD Forrest, ladies and gentlemen, the assistant coach of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. JD, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to talk to me. I won't keep you here any longer. Really appreciate your thoughts, and now I'll let you get back to math class, okay?
Thanks, Nick. I miss our talks. I really do. Looking forward to seeing you guys again.
Looking forward to it too, JD. Once again, thanks so much.
All right, thank you.